Welcome to Pokemon Masters Council. We've got our second, that's right, Zero, our second of the treasured Pokemon, these ruinous Pokemon. We got you today, buddy.
Yeah, we've got the Pokemon that I think a lot of people really enjoy design-wise. It's very simple.
I love it.
What do you think? You like it?
Yeah. I like the regular. I like the shiny. Great fish. Nice and simple. It seems more like old school kind of Pokemon design. Yeah, I think this is my favorite of the four, actually, aesthetically.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think about this Pokemon without thinking about the shiny. I wish I would have shiny hunted it in game, but I didn't because I'm a fool.
So, as always, we want to give a big shout out here for everybody that's been subscribing lately. We just hit 700. We really appreciate it. If you're watching this right now and you want to join the membership, join the club, be a part of the crew, part of the council, hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that big thumbs up for the Chi-Yu How to Use guide, and hit that notification bell. Stay up to date every time we put out a new video here on the channel. Alright, Zero, so this fish, one of the treasure Pokemon, one of those, you know, coin the phrase here, Dark Tapu, obviously part Dark type, but this is the Dark Fire. This is the other offensive. This is the special side of Chien-Pao. Link in the description if you guys have not checked out the Ice Kitty. So we have Ruinous Pokemon, as usual, and this one's the Beads of Ruin, Zero.
Yep, so I guess we kind of just start from the top down, right? Let's talk about the typing, the ability, and then we'll go over the stats before we hit our sets.
So Fire and Dark is pretty legit. I like this typing. Being able to resist fire, grass, ice, ghost, dark, and steel. It's a pretty legit combo, don't you think, brother?
Yeah, you're neutral to fairy, which is, you know, you got Fluttermane running around all over the meta right now. Yeah, some legitimate resistances here. You are weak to a few common, well, actually, like all of the weaknesses, if you look down here on the bottom right, water, rock, fighting ground, these are all very common offensive types, so he does have that going against him, but you know, we've got Terras, and we'll give you guys some Terras to talk about during our sets.
So right here, Zero, we have Beads of Ruin. The Pokemon's ruinous powers basically lower the special defense stats of all Pokemon except itself. So this is the special defense armor shred side of the other side of the coin of Chien-Pao. So Chien-Pao does physical for that sort of armor shred. This is the special side. So we're going to be hitting harder on special side. It's going to enable our other Pokemon to smash on the special side as well with that 55 HP. Pretty squishy, but you know, we've seen things with 55 HP work before. Looking at you, Rotom. 80 physical attack, not great. 80 physical defense. It's okay, but it's not as bad as some that we've seen where, you know, it's leaning to one side or the other. 80 physical's okay.
Right. Like Fluttermane has like a 55-55 spread for this HP and defense, and we know how squishy she is. That little extra 25 for defense is definitely doing it more favors than Fluttermane's.
135 special attack, absolutely insane. Speaking of Fluttermane, bro, we have the exact same power here.
Yep, exact same special attack, and then, you know, we're shredding the special defense of the field. So, I mean, you're essentially giving yourself, you know, I don't know math. The math is telling me you're going up to like 150, basically.
Yeah. 120 Spec D is actually very legit. It's not 135 like Fluttermane, but that's legit. That's a very, very big back end on this little fishy. And then 100 speed. Now, this has to be stated. It's not 135. So he's much slower than like some of the fastest things in the meta, like Chien-Pao or Fluttermane. But 100's not bad. 100 is very fast.
100 is good, but unfortunately, like, that puts you in a speed tie with things like Palafin, which is not where you want to be.
Exactly.
The speed time with Palafin, you know, I know it's got Aqua Punch, but they very commonly carry Wave Crash just in case they need it. And being able to tie that Pokemon at best.
And just blow them up.
Exactly, yeah. That's, if you lose that trade, then, you know, you're in a really bad spot because he's going to blow up this little fish. He's the big fish in the pond. This is the little fish.
All right, so the first set that we have today, we're actually going to be talking about. So this is our, PMC sweeper set for the fishy, primarily for VGC, but this can definitely work something similar in singles as well. Probably just take off the protect. But basically, we've got Timid, 252, 252, kind of the glass cannon here. You got kind of a lot of options with Chi-Yu. Again, depending on which meta you're in, Focus Sash, Life Orb, even some Overheat White Herb tech, which we've shown on the channel. So
absolutely,
there's kind of a lot of options, just kind of that standard offensive poke. But the thing that we're going to be utilizing here is that triple stab, Zero. We're going Terra Grass.
Absolutely.
We're bringing this boy to my gym.
Chi-Yu and Terra Grass, this is a match made in heaven.
Yeah,
You're shedding a few of those weaknesses, and a couple of them are becoming resistances, like your ground and your water weakness become resistances, and you're immune to Spore and Rage Powder. So
very strong.
So much going in your favor when you Terra Grass, and gives you coverage against water types, ground types, rock types. Just
triple stab, baby. Dark, fire, and grass. That's all you need.
Yep.
That third option could be, so if you're running in single Zero, you could run Overheat and Flamethrower and just take off Protect.
Absolutely.
And then put either Life Orb or Focus Sash or the White Herb. Boom. Good to go.
Yep. I'm running something similar to this in 3v3s as well.
Yeah. This is the standard, right?
I'm a firm believer in Terra Grass for this one.
Are you a timid or a modest? I guess it depends on if you're Scarf or if you're in Tailwind, maybe.
Right. I'm more of a timid kind of guy, especially because...
Me too. Me too.
I think the speed... Like, we talk about 100 and we said, oh, it's pretty good. But at the end of the day, it's good, right? Like, it's a,
it
is
good fun,
speed
though.
tier. Oh?
Modest choice specs.
Modest choice specs, right? You get a little greedy there, but that's okay.
Speaking of choice sets...
Oh.
The next one we have up... This is our choice. You can either go Scarf or Specs, either Timid or Modest. So there's kind of a lot of options here. Again, I think 252, 252, or something close to it is good for this fish. But I do think that there is some play with that 120 Spec D. And I think we'll get into that in a future set. But I definitely think there's some play if you want to do some custom calcs and go forward from here and maybe cut out a couple of points in speed or a couple of points in special attack and maybe trade that off to put in some HP or put in physical defense or put in special defense to try to shore up some of those weaknesses or some specific matchups you might be facing in the meta. I definitely think that that's a good shout.
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, we are leaning on this Terra Grass. I think it just gives excellent coverage. It's beautiful that it becomes a triple stab build as well as a defensive Terra option. I mean, there are other options that we'll talk about, but
yeah,
Justin, I think you and I both agree that
grass is pulling double duty here for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an argument for Ghost as well to be completely immune to fighting, but you don't want to all of a sudden get a weakness to Fluttermane if you can avoid it, because you're neutral to a lot of her stuff. But I mean, you're immune to extreme speed from Dragonite.
Yep.
If you decide to go Terra Ghost, or you know what I mean. So,
which I think is I think it is a great shout. The power of this set, I believe, is having like we just talked about, is the options of that dual stab option between Flamethrower and Overheat. Now you can do Ruination, especially if this is a Scarfed set. And especially if this is in VGC. Like a Scarf set in VGC. I like the idea of Ruination to catch people off guard because you pop something down to half and then your partner hits them and you get the 1-2 punch and knock them out in one turn.
Yes. Yeah.
Cutting something down 50% could potentially be very impactful. So I throw it on there for some hot spicy tech. I know you're not necessarily a huge fan of Ruination on a Scar or on a choice set.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like situational tech depending on like maybe what your team build is, but like I think We both agree that going with 2 like fire options, the dark option, and then Terra Blast is like probably
So
like
good.
it's probably like the most optimal.
Oh yeah,
way
like,
to
this
go.
is the set, and this will do work. And like I told you, bro, modest with a choice specs, very, very potent damage. Now you have to get it set up. You're a little bit slower, but if you can get in that right position, she'll just drop bombs.
That's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage. All right, Zero. So we talked about this with Chen Pao. We obviously have a way better option here with that 122 Specty and stuff like that with the fish. We're talking about the longevity. So this is going to be that set where you're not necessarily focusing on the fish utilizing his Beads of Ruin, but using him as an enabler, specifically for VGC more than anything. That's what this set is for.
The day 1 combo, my brother. That Fluttermane and Chi-Yu, those 2 are like 2 peas in a pod.
There we go,
in
baby.
Regulation C. So
it's so good. So what do we got here, Zero?
So, Snarl, obviously. Now, this is a stab boosted Snarl. You're not going to get big damage out of this, but this is going to keep Chi-Yu on the field a little bit longer if you
it's about that
manage to
longevity.
land this. Yeah, you're kind of going for like supplemental damage here, right? And trying to just stay on the field, being a little extra bulky. Heat Wave, again, supplemental damage. It's stab, it's spread, it's a really good option to take things. You can take like a third of a lot of things HP. With minimal investment, but you're probably still 2-hit KOing a lot of things in the game with Heat Wave plus Beads of Ruin. Terra Blast.
It's impressive damage. What you said about Heat Wave, it's actually, you're right, it's very impressive damage.
Yeah.
So it makes up for the fact that Heat Wave is a spread move. Same thing with Snarl.
Yes,
the Beads of Ruin, really, you don't notice it like you with other pokes. Let me tell you what.
So then, to round out these last 2 moves, we'll kind of talk about them.
These last 2 slots are item dependent.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there, I definitely think there is an argument, and we've seen it already, for Assault Vest Chi-Yu.
Yep, it's just speedy enough to run the set, and it can avoid getting smacked by certain things, especially like when it comes to like a lot of Paradox Pokemon. Not a lot of Paradox Pokemon are that incredibly fast, they're honestly really not that fast. I mean, we've got some speedy ones like Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant, but a lot of them are kind of slow, so you can kind of take advantage of the meta here.
Yeah, that's a great shout, Zero, especially with that Terra Fairy potentially as the option here. That's why we have that. This is the one that differs, is you could potentially... Terra Fairy, you could go with any of these, but we do think that Grass is the better shout, and you could go Grass here as well, but Terra Fairy really allows you to punish those slower Paradox Pokemon, and or it gives you really good damage against your fellow Dark Tapus.
Yeah, and Terra Fairy is so like important to this idea of this bulky set, because Fairy is just one of the best types in the game defensively. There's not a lot of steel or poison coverage out there.
Yep.
So to round out this set, buddy, talk about these last 2 moves that we haven't touched on, because I really, really like this tech. We talked about it a little bit in a Chi-Yu vid. Yeah. So tell us about it.
So results may vary depending on what you want to do. You kind of season to taste with the EVs. Do you want some special defense investment or physical defense?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with kind of like putting yourself in a position where you're a little more well-rounded. So I don't see any sort of problem. There's a reason we have run physically defensive Blisties.
You can choose to either cut out of your speed or special attack, and even if we go modest, very strong here. So we hide behind a substitute, and then we also have Protect with leftovers. That's the other option. So Snarl, Heat Wave, Sub, Protect with lefties. And you get some defense investment. I don't recommend putting too much into her HP because it's only base 55. It's very, very low. It's not good return on investment. So if you're going to look for bulk, just go straight, put those EVs into one of her defensive stats, not her HP.
And then the whole idea behind this is because Beads of Ruin is so strong, you want to keep the Pokemon on the field to enable the special attackers, like Justin said. So going with the sub, so getting through again. So if you go Terra Fairy and then you sub, now you're not worried about Spore. And then you can protect. Now you're not worried about damage while you're behind a sub. So now you've got 2 more turns with your fish, or at least 2 more turns to play with your fish.
Yeah, being able to protect with a sub up, it's so obnoxious.
Yeah, we saw this with Zacian in Generation 8. We saw sub protect because Zacian put on so much pressure and everyone wanted to double into that spot.
Correct.
We would see substitute, we would see protect, and it would just generate so much pressure while Zacian's partner was just destroying the field. And this is a very similar idea that we're going with here.
And while she does have a lower base HP than Chen Pao, so the substitute is weaker in that front, she has higher base stats for her defenses, especially her special defense. So it will come in handy having those subs, shrugging things off, healing up with lefties, and you're just being annoying with Snarl and Heat Wave. Now, you will be subject to wide guard here.
Oh, yeah.
So it's something to think about. Maybe instead of one of the two, in my opinion, you keep Snarl. Even though, regardless of what I said earlier about having Dark Pulse, you still want Snarl because it shreds Spec D, and that'll help you with longevity a lot, especially in this meta. But yeah, you take off Heat Wave, and I think you'd give that the single target option of Flamethrower.
Agree. This one's definitely my favorite slide out of the 3 that we've shown you guys. This is my favorite set for sure.
Yeah, this is like this is the PMC special tech for VGC.
Yeah, this is what you guys sub for. Subscribe now if you haven't already. As
usual in these how to use guides, we close it out by going to some Pikalytics, Zero.
Yes, sir. Let's check VGC Regulation C switch ranked first. So where we sitting here with this fish?
Yeah, dude. Number 4 in usage. This fish is top 5. No surprise. We see 95% of the time they're bringing Dark Pulse. Like I said, that Dark Pulse is a very spicy tech for dropping bombs. Heat Wave, actually very strong. Overheat, Protect, Snarl, Terra Blast, Psychic, yeah, help you against things like Iron Hands and Amoonguss, should the Amoonguss decide to Terra. Flamethrower, Lava Plume, and Willow. So lots of great tech here. Most used, 34%, Terra Grass. Number 2, baby. Terra Ghost. Yep. Otherwise, Fire, Water, Dark, Flying, Fairy. Lots of interesting stuff here. Choice Scarf is most used at 41% in VGC. I told you people want to drop bombs, Zero.
Absolutely, yep. And then
Life Orb, Sash,
Life Orb, Sash, yep, Specs.
And then here Assault we go, AV. What'd I tell you?
AV. Yeah, and then one other thing to note here, we got Fluttermane and Iron Bundle as its most common partners, a couple of the premier special attackers in the format. So
exactly, being that big enabler. And then look up down here, the Glamora, Wo-Chen doing more damage, and then with Amoonguss being able to support with redirection makes a lot of sense. And Timid 49 and Modest 46, so pretty even split, Zero.
Yep, just if you want to go Specs, then go Timid. If you want to go Scarf, then go Modest. Alright, so now if we go over to Battle Stadium Singles, Regulation C, you're going to see that set that Justin shouted out here. We're sitting at number 5 in usage, so 3 of these Pokemon, these ruinous Pokemon, sitting in the top 5. Dark Pulse, Overheat, Flamethrower, and Terra Blast. Special shout out to Psychic. So yeah, Justin, looking like the exact set that you had listed out. And
yeah, dude.
Choice Scarf and Choice Specs are the number 1 and number 2 items.
I love this, Zero, and I do want to give this special shout out for our second set that when I talked about dropping bombs. This is when we double dip. 45% Terra Fire in singles.
Jeez,
bro. 64% usage for Choice Scarf. And the next top usage, 14.5% for Choice Specs. I told you, Zero.
Yeah, I think Choice Scarf Fish is the strongest. That is some greedy damage in a meta with,
isn't it? That's what I'm talking about. And see, for me, Terra Fire and then Terra Fairy second, Terra Grass third. Exactly what we're talking about, people. So this is why you subscribe to the channel, because we're putting out these relevant sets in the meta. Modest 62%, Timid 64%. So it's looking like Modest Scarf. Terra Fire is the way to go in singles, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, special shout out here. Life Orb, Assault Vest, Focus Sash. Just like we talked about. Love to see it. Utilizing those special defense, I'm assuming. As usual, Zero, we want to give a big special shout out to everybody that stayed to the end of the video.
Yep, thank you so much for sticking around and watching another How to Use guide. Our second Ruinous Pokemon. The rest are on the way. We've got plenty more How to Use guides that we're trying to cover. If you've got any special requests, just let us know below. Otherwise, we've got so much stuff on deck that we are excited to put out. So
probably within the next week or so within this podcast cycle, go check out the newest podcast where we talk about Pokemon TCG and our adventure into buying a couple of decks in real life, which have finally all arrived. Woo!
I know. I got all my cards today. I'm ready to duel.
All right. Well, you ready? We'll do it right now. All right. Let's log out of here. Brandon and I are about to go settle a score from 2nd grade.
All right, bro. I'm driving to your house right this second.
Until next time, I've been Gym Leader Justin.
And I'm Zero.
Council's adjourned.